Hey guys! So I wasn't expecting to film today, which is why my hair is a mess and whatever. But I just got this giant box from Lakeshore Learning. Not Spawn, we just really love this company for our educational stuff. So I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I got for our upcoming, well, I say upcoming school year kind of loosely because we homeschool year round. So, but yeah, this is the stuff that I think my son is ready for now. So I decided to go through his therapy / homeschooling room, purge some of the things that he's outgrown and replace them with this more appropriate stuff. So in case you're new to the channel or you're not aware, I'm going to post a little bit about me right here in this video. But the Cliff's Notes version is that I'm a stay-at-home mom to a little boy that is 7 years old, and he is on the autism spectrum. He's nonverbal and he has a host of other medical challenges. I homeschool him, and that was always our plan. Even before we had kids, we knew that we wanted to homeschool. Obviously, our plans changed a lot and our methods changed along with them when we discovered that our child was not neurotypical. But we always knew that we wanted to teach our kids at home, and we always knew that we would go at their pace and match their abilities and always challenge them while still keeping in mind their individual strengths and where they need work, etc. So in that respect, it's really no different. With all that being said, let's get into the giant box here. As with all of my unboxings, I opened the box so that you guys wouldn't have to watch me struggle on camera, but I haven't actually looked in here yet, so I don't even know what's in here. Honorable mention though, before I get into that, I also got a box today from Fun and Function, and we love Fun and Function. But while Fun and Function does have a lot of like educational games and toys and things, I look to them more for sensory type items, sensory regulation. So things like my son's chewies, things like swings, compression vests and weighted vests and things like that, bouncy chairs, and the peanut ball that you guys might have seen in one of my vlogs. All of that is from Fun and Function. So I got my son a foam roller because he likes the deep pressure, and this is something that helps to calm him down before we start our lessons. I can only speak from the perspective of a mom of a child that has autism and that has sensory processing disorder, but truthfully, sensory regulation is something that's important for all people, neurotypical and neurodivergent alike. So I think that all parents should probably check Fun and Function and even Lakeshore Learning out. There's stuff there that's beneficial for all kids, all people even. And Lakeshore and Fun and Function, if you do want to sponsor me, I mean, you know where to find me. I'm right here. Anyways, to the box. We're focusing a lot on reading and spelling this year because my son has always been super interested in letters in the alphabet and letter sounds. But being that he's nonverbal, teaching him to read in the typical fashion is just not something that is going to work for us. So we have to find new ways to introduce new words to him, to teach him to pair those new words with their meaning, etc. There's also the added challenge of writing. He is not a huge fan of it. He'll do it. It's not like he fights it or anything. It's just that he'd really rather be doing other things. Yeah, you agree? Writing is a little bit of a challenge because he doesn't have a lot of strength in his hands. So if he uses a regular pencil or a crayon or even a pen to some extent, he has a hard time applying pressure. So a lot of our writing is done with markers so that he can see it right away. And we also do a lot of writing on vertical surfaces, so on an easel, for example, because then the gravity kind of helps him apply that pressure to the paper or the surface rather than him having to rely on the strength of his hand to do it. So see, it's just like homeschooling any other kid. You just have to really be honest with yourself about what sort of supports and accommodations your kid needs and provide them like any other kid, right? First thing I have here, sight word puzzles, level 3. He's been watching these preschool prep videos, which actually, I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but there's one playing right now. So he's been watching those videos legit since he was like 2 years old. And so thanks to those videos, he's very familiar with the concepts of letters and numbers and shapes and colors and all of that. One of the things they have is a program on sight words. I think they show you about 60 sight words across 3 DVDs, but he can recognize all these sight words, and he's been able to since he was like 3 years old. There was a point where he was actually advanced in reading, but it was difficult to gauge that because most assessments require the child to read the word out loud. So it's like if you judge a fish by his ability to climb a tree, he'll go his whole life thinking he's a failure or something. I don't know, but something like that applies. So I got these puzzles because my son is obsessed with puzzles. He loves them. So I like to take advantage of that fact and use puzzles in his teaching and learning wherever I can, because I know that that's gonna be an easy transition for him. And so this brings 4 sets of 5 words, so it's 20 words. Some of them he's already familiar with, but some of them are gonna be new to him. Sorry, the light's reflecting off the plastic on the box. There we go. So that's all the words that this set brings. And yeah, so this is kind of cool. And what I like to do with these puzzles is that if you'll notice, it has the completed word, and then he's supposed to fill it out down here with the puzzle pieces. So what I like to do is that I'll give him this, I'll give him the pieces. I might give him all the pieces and then have him sort them out, because I feel like this is not super challenging for him. So I might give him all of the pieces at once and have him do all 5 at once. And then we'll take a piece of paper, or we'll go to the easel or whatever, and we'll write the word out. So he's getting used to what it looks like completed. He's getting used to the individual letters that it takes to make it up, and then he's getting to write it out, so that it's another way of learning that word. It's another way to make it stick in his brain. I don't know where I'm gonna put all this stuff as I take it out of the box. Letter crayons, word building center. So this is fun, and I like this because this has just like little pictures, sort of like flashcards, and then these little alphabet crayons. And the idea is that you're supposed to be able to give him the red set of flashcards, and all of those words can be created by the red set of crayons. And I like this because while this has the guide that shows you what the word is supposed to look like before you put it together, this he has to rely on actually knowing the word and how it's spelled. How I might help him use this is I might say to him, bat, this is a bat. How do we spell bat? So eventually he will pair that the word bat is symbolized by this picture, but I'm not showing him the word bat and having him just regurgitate bat, B-A-T. He has to remember bat, that sounds like B-A-T, and he'll be able to spell it out. And there's a few words that he can already spell out like that just by hearing the sound of them. So I wanted to capitalize on the success we've had with that so far and get that set for him. These he's had for a while and he loves them. They're more like toys at this point than anything. Like, I don't expect him to garner any new information from these because he's had them for such a long time. I wish they made more sets of these with different words. Yep, there he comes to take them away. So he really likes these, but these are more like a brain break type thing than actual learning tools. These, however, though, I do still like to have him complete the word and then write it out so that he's getting some practice. But yeah, so many big boxes in here. I don't know where to start. What are you? Sight word puzzles, level 2. Okay, so this is the same concept as the very first thing I showed you guys, but this is level 2. The one I showed you before was level 3. So this is another set of 20 words. Again, some of them he's already familiar with thanks to the preschool prep DVDs, and some of them are going to be new to him, so that's very cool. I'm going to guess that, yep, level 1 is in here as well. So they sent all 3 sets. Most of these words are words, actually I believe all of these words are words that he's already familiar with. So that's good, because level 1, since he already knows these words, it'll be more about teaching him the procedure of how this set works. Giant stack of boxes next to me, precariously stacked. I was gonna say we're running out of things here, but nope, we're very much not. These 3 boxes are all the same concept but different flavors, if you will. This is a logic puzzle, and this one is around the town. So it's just a regular puzzle with like the same holes you'd find in any other puzzle, but then I guess you have to try to make the different houses and buildings fit in different ways. So it's a 3D puzzle. My son, as I said before, he loves puzzles. He's never had to handle a 3D puzzle before where he's had to put two pieces together to create a shape or anything. So I think that this is going to be pretty exciting. So we've got around the town, we've got on the farm, and we've got in the city. So that's going to be cool. Once he grasps the concept of the logic puzzles, I don't have to be worried about him saying, oh, well, I know how to figure this one out, boom, 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 and that's it. I can then switch it up and bust out a new one and say, aha, so now that you know how this works, let's try this one out. My son picks up on patterns and rituals and things way faster than a lot of other people, and there's times even where we don't realize that we're doing something in a ritualistic manner until he picks up on it and shows us. For example, his behavior therapist runs a program with him where she'll say a word out loud and he has to type on his assistive communication device how to spell that word. So that's how they practice spelling. And the other day I was sitting in their session with them, and as soon as he pulled out the iPad, he opened the program and he types D-U-C-K, duck. And I just look at her and I'm like, is that one of the spelling words you guys do? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, you know what that is? That's that you usually ask him duck first, and he already knows if I'm pulling this iPad out and she's asking me to go to the typewriter section, it's because she wants me to spell duck. She's like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. I'm like, well, now you know, because look what he just did. So things like that. So when it comes to the puzzles, that's why I like to get more than one variety of each kind of puzzle, because I know that once he gets a hang of one, first off, he's gonna get the hang of it immediately, and secondly, it's gonna become boring to him really, really quickly. So I like to be able to switch it up and keep him guessing. Word work folder games. 10 activity folders, 10 sets of tiles in storage pouches. This is interesting. What is this? Okay, self-checking folder games. So I guess the idea is that the pieces only fit a certain way, and so if they're incorrect, it won't let you move forward or something. I've never seen this. I know the concept of folder games is popular in homeschooling in general, but I've never used them, so this is going to be new for me too. But this is sight word games, word patterns, word building, simple sentences. I don't know if we're there yet, but it's good to see that we can try it out. We can probe it and see how he does. So this is cool. This is interesting. The last thing in this box is actually math. Numbers and counting theme box. Packed full of fun manipulatives and theme-based props, includes a guide with hands-on activities. Covers 10 cross-curricular learning areas. Well, I like that. So this brings counting cards, large plastic numbers, jumbo dice, tactile numbers, 48 fish counters, so like little manipulatives is what they're called. Follow the dots number stamps, he's gonna like that. Modeling dough, I probably won't use because we keep our own that's gluten-free. Number dough stampers, number sequencing puzzle, he loves sequencing puzzles, so he's gonna like that. And an ink pad, I guess, to go with this. Oh no, the stampers are for the dough. I don't know what the ink pad's for, but I guess we'll sort it out. So that's all the stuff that comes in here. So that's cool. The numbers are a little more challenging for him. He can definitely identify most numbers. I know for starting up to 30, I don't know, he probably might surprise me and go all the way up to 100 easily if I asked him to. But the concept of how many is still challenging. So we're working on that at therapy, and once they get a handle on what's the best way to approach it, then basically they're gonna fill me in, and that way we're all going to approach it from the same angle so as to not confuse him. So that's everything that came in our Lakeshore box, but I wanted to show you guys a couple other things that I have here. One of the things that I'm not gonna get to show you today is also from Lakeshore Learning. They're shipping that one separately, but it's actually our second set. Our first set is with our therapist, and she uses it with him. It's called Early Math Center, and it's basically a bunch of flashcards with different patterns on them. Something like this. This is a beaded pattern set, so it comes with all these different cards, And then obviously the beads that are different shapes and different colors, different features. So he has to pay attention to the features of the beads and then follow the instructions on the cards in order to place them correctly where they're supposed to go. Same concept in this early math center, but it brings these flashcards that have different patterns and things, and it also brings, I think it's about 48 or 36 different elephants. So they're all the same features, except some of them are small, medium, and large, and within those, some of them are green, blue, red. I forget if there's also yellow ones, but I know for certain there's at least 3 colors because there's at least 3 sizes. And the idea is that you can use all of these elephants not just to learn counting, for example, give me 4 elephants, but you can also ask, where are the yellow ones? Where are the blue ones? Then you can take it a step further and say, follow this pattern. You can take it a step further and say, which ones are big and which ones are small? Put them in order of size. You're not distracted by, here's a giraffe, here's a dog, and here's a hen. Which one is smaller? Because there's so many other things going on, so many other features you could be paying attention to that smaller just kind of gets lost. It just becomes one more word in there, and it's difficult to like grasp the concept of their differences when they're so different. So I really like that set because they're just different enough where you can pay attention to the exact features that you're looking for. And then once they've gotten the handle of that, it's easier to move on to different things because then it's not such a challenge. You're taking the baby steps up. Like anything else, it's baby steps. You break all the tasks down in such a way where you're not asking them to go from 0 to 100 right away. They can go from 0 to 10. If 10 turns out to be too much, then we'll break it down to 5, and so on and so on. And eventually you're going to get to 100, and it's going to all make sense to you because you really understood every step of the way. Another thing that we're using this year, this is Key Education. I want to say I got this on Amazon. I might have gotten it from Lakeshore though. I'm not sure, but this is what it looks like, and this is what it's called in case you want to Google it. Write on, wipe off, read and write first words. And these are also flashcards. Waiting for the focus to adjust a little. Is it going to? Perhaps. Yeah, so it's different sight words and then little games that go along with it. But the idea of this is that it brings crayon. I like to use dry erase markers, and you can trace everything and do all the games, etc. But then you could just wipe them off and do them over and over again. So this is good if you are a fan of repetition so that they can practice the words and really like get them in there. This is great for that. And speaking of following directions and math and whatnot, these are from Learning Resources, mental blocks. Brain boosting, make you think, block building fun. My son is not a huge fan of these, but I really like them, so I use them a lot. Again, these bring a bunch of flashcards, 40 if I'm not mistaken, and then all of these different shapes and colorful type things. And again, you have to pay attention to the features because it's going to ask you for patterns. And so you have to be able to line up the patterns, and then they're numbered. So this is 1, so this is probably the easiest one, right? Eventually you get to 40, and 40 looks something like that. So you start off simple, and it increases in difficulty until you're able to do this, you know, complex pattern with all these different shapes and stuff. He doesn't love this because he prefers to do his own thing, but following directions is a part of life. Especially if you want to build things, cook, you know, life skills. So I feel like that's important for him to do. This big guy here is kind of cementing a lot of the other stuff we're already doing, but it's more open-ended, so we can do a little bit more with it. This is just letters and pictures, and they're all magnets. So the idea again is that you might take the magnet and say car, that's a car, how do you spell car? And you'd use these letters to do that. It's got a teaching guide here, which I haven't opened yet because we haven't really gotten into this. But yeah, that's one of the things that we're planning to use in this upcoming school year. And because I know that somebody's bound to ask, I decided to bring this out. This is our wheat and gluten-free dough that we use instead of Play-Doh, because Play-Doh and most, if not all, not clearly marked doughs include flour in them, so they're not gluten-free. If you don't have a gluten allergy, maybe that's not a concern for you, but because we do have a gluten allergy in the household, and I've had this since my son was still putting stuff in his mouth that maybe shouldn't be going in his mouth, I figured this was a prudent thing to have on hand. And so this brings 8 colors, 5.5 pounds. It's lasted us ages. In fact, I think that I've only opened 1 roll so far, but see, they all come individually wrapped like this. And I've just got the 1 roll open right now because my son really doesn't like this sort of thing. So it's a challenge to get him to handle those sorts of sensory situations. So half of the roll is with his occupational therapist, half the roll is here at home. And we practice with it, like I'll have him roll it up for me, and then once it's rolled up, we might take a fork and try to pierce the fork, and that helps with his fine motor practice and his hand-eye coordination. So a lot of things you could do with Play-Doh. If your kid is not averse to those textures, then obviously you could just play with it as you would with any other Play-Doh. But yeah, wheat and gluten-free is a must-have for us, and so if it's something that you're interested in too, Colorations is the brand, and this is what it looks like. So that's a little glimpse into all of the stuff that goes into our homeschooling. If you are a home educator, or if you have a child with special needs, or all of the above, I'd love to hear from you and find out what you guys are doing to meet your kids' educational needs. Leave me a comment so we could connect, because I'd love to start a conversation about it. And if you're a parent of a typical child, I'd love to hear from you too, because all of this stuff that I've talked about today is stuff that benefits every kid. Honestly, every kid can learn from this. Every kid can have fun with all this stuff. So I'd love to hear from you too. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I'd also love it if you would subscribe and click the notification bell, because I post at least 3 times a week and you're not going to want to miss a minute. Thanks again for watching. Bye.